Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Andrew Fike, and I'm the Housing Director at Lifeworks here in Austin. Our mission is clear at Lifeworks. We're solving youth homelessness through housing, mental health, education, and workforce services. I get to lead our housing programs that encompasses outreach teams that go out into the community every day, an emergency shelter that has foster youth placements and runaway youth, transitional housing programs for young adults and parents, and permanent housing programs that provide wraparound support. Lifeworks facilitates roughly 2/3 of all youth transitions out of homelessness and into permanent housing in our community. I'm here today also to advocate for flexible state funding through TDHCA to serve homeless and at-risk young adults. Investing in flexible funding grant program empowers communities to address their unique needs. The needs are significant, and this funding can make a real difference. It can support preventative interventions for vulnerable populations like youth aging out of foster care, as well as support crisis navigation services and expanded housing options. I can speak specifically for our community, what these funds would do. We've seen a skyrocket in youth homelessness. We had 247 youth identified in 2020 experiencing homelessness. As of last week, that number was 988. Nearly a third of those are young parents. This surge demands greater support. We operate a drop-in center. We served an entire year's worth of our goal in 1 quarter of last year. We provide food, hygiene items, emergency supplies, but more importantly, we connect to vital services, we screen for human trafficking, we connect with public health, and we also navigate housing resources. Flexible funding through TDHCA would allow us to enhance these services and continue to grow them to meet the growing demands in our community. Furthermore, of the 988 youth who are homeless in our community, over half of them, 56%, have come from the foster care system. FYI vouchers, foster youth independent vouchers, they're critical for these individuals. Lifeworks, here in Austin, we've facilitated 133 lease-ups with these vouchers. It's one of the highest utilization rates in the nation. However, I can also say that there's a critical funding gap. We do not have funds to support these youth after they turn 21 years old, even though the voucher goes until they're 24 years old. The voucher is intended to be tethered with support services, and we know working with homeless youth, they're incredibly at risk of eviction and struggling with life skills that need that support. However, DFPS does not have the funds to give to providers like us after the age of 21. And so we are essentially leaving dozens of vouchers in our community and across the state, hundreds of vouchers on the table, federal dollars unspent, because we cannot tether them to support services. Flexible funding could solve this, directly aiding those who need it the most. And lastly, flexible funding is essential to expand age-appropriate shelter and transitional living options. This is what Lauren spoke to just a second ago. Minors need safe and tailored environments. We are seeing more and more minors whose parents are refusing responsibility, and CPS is unable to take them into care, especially 16 to 18-year-olds. I get referrals every single day from placement coordinators who are struggling to find viable options. Flexible funding would allow communities to establish respite centers, crisis shelters, and transitional living programs. All of these examples are ways that I know in our community we could use flexible funds. Yep.
You said flexible funding.
That's different from added dollars, and I'm trying to understand what that means.
Can I answer this?
Yes.
So there's legislation that has been filed to create a grant program that TDHCA would operate, allowing for communities to apply, providers and communities to apply based on what they need in their community. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you wouldn't go out, like we don't want to see like specific funding just to support FYI vouchers, right? Because that's not necessarily what's needed in every community. So it's allowing for providers to apply based on what the youth in their community need.
So then you're asking for more dollars as well then?
Correct, specifically for the new grant program.
Okay, how much? What's the dollar amount on that?
We would like to see 60 or 80 million, which,
okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
To that, these are examples that I know in Austin we could use these flexible funds. And the importance of flexible funds is that the community can choose where their gaps are. So I'll conclude just by saying we understand how to address youth homelessness. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach or solution. It's a combination of tailored interventions and services. And we urgently need this funding to make this happen. So thank you all.